All right, we did it. We're here. We're here.
Exciting.
I want to fix your mic. Can't hear you.
Should be on the right one.
Bzzzt.
You can't hear me at all?
Barely.
I don't have to tell you.
There you are.
I didn't change anything.
What's that?
I didn't really change anything.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
Imagine that.
All right. Vikings win. You got a beer in front of you or what?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay. All right. Vikings get the dubski. Finish off the year with the 37-35 victory, finishing that beautiful 7-9 record.
I wouldn't call that beautiful. That's like going to prom with the best looking ass-wing sister.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the Vikings, they got the win. They did have some help from the refs. We'll get to that at some point. 37-35, a shootout, which we kind of thought was going to happen. I do believe I predicted the 37 points for the Vikings. I did think the defense would have done a little bit better. But Marvin Jones did what Marvin Jones does against the Vikings and destroyed us.
Yeah, let's start at the top. One of the big talkers going in this was obviously the Justin Jefferson, not only Randy Moss record, but the rookie record, and damn it, nailed it. He ends the season with even 1,400 yards.
Yeah, and you could tell there toward when they were getting close, Cousins was forcing the ball, was throwing him every single time. Didn't matter if he was covered or not. They wanted the record. That was clearly a goal going into this game to get Jefferson that record, and they did that. But again, some great catches by Jefferson, fighting for extra yards. You like to see, he did fumble the one time, but I'd rather see a guy fumble when he's fighting and trying to get some extra yards than just to give himself up or something like that. I like the fight in this kid.
Yeah, he was ready to go. He was out there just scrambling for those yards, getting a little chippy. I hate, it's just something we're gonna have to deal with opposing teams when they start doing the gritty back. But I don't like just random defensive linemen on a very bad team doing it. It just doesn't sit right. But Jefferson got the last laugh because he actually finished the game 9 for 133 yards. Another huge game. Asked after the game, what he thought about his rookie year, and he said, just think if I would have started those first two, which is absolutely right.
Yeah, and he probably should have. It goes back to a problem the Vikings have had all freaking year, which is just not quickly adjusting, making changes. They roll the same guys out, expect different things to happen. I think it took me a week 3 or 4 to finally get Jefferson involved. And when he did, this offense really took off. Yeah,
it took off. Unfortunately, we ended 7-9 as far as taking off, but he is one big old bright spot for this team moving forward in a season that just didn't really bring anything.
Yeah, I mean, he really was. He was a spark, not just on the offense, but he was a spark just with his energy, with his enthusiasm, with his dance. That thing took the whole NFL by storm. That's why you see every team doing it back to us, even when a no-name D-tackle makes a big play. Justin Jefferson, the gritty. I mean, they're always going to be forever linked, and he's just a fun guy to be around. He's a lot of energy on this offense. It's something the Vikings needed.
Yeah, and SSM Creations is bringing up a very good point. We were going to talk about this absolutely, but now that you brought it up, we got to talk about it. Kirk Cousins did the gritty, as awkward as it might have been, and as awkward as everybody would have expected. He did, in fact, do the gritty.
Well, I gotta be honest, it wasn't as bad as I expected. I thought it was gonna be much, much worse. He didn't really do it that long. He didn't do the glasses at the end of it, but he did do it. It was probably worse watching him do the dead arm dance, I think, than see him do the gritty, in my opinion.
Boy, I actually enjoyed the dead arm quite a bit. Quite a bit.
Well, let's get into Kirk Cousins, because I think to start the game, he was just off. It took him, I think, probably a full quarter to really get rolling here. He was throwing guys high. He was just not seeing things right. And he was a big reason why the Vikings offense was kind of off to a slow start.
Yeah, it was slow, but I mean, the beginning of this game, it was very clear that two teams were playing each other that weren't very good, because it was a pretty tough game to watch on both sides of things. Kirk Cousins did start off slow, but he ended big, 28 for 40, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. So anybody who tries to say that our record or the reason this team isn't going anywhere is because of Kirk Cousins, I think has become pretty stale and not relevant. He's a pretty damn good quarterback.
Oh yeah, when he was heating up, he was putting the ball in some tight spots. You know, you see him take some huge hits. This guy just does not get hurt. You know, he didn't really scramble a lot to make some extra room or time to throw the ball, but he did have a couple moments where he was able to create some more time. But yeah, I mean, the way he's placing the football, he's been all season. He threw for over 400 yards today. You can't ask for a much better performance from your quarterback. So he did have a couple plays that, you know, the interception that should have been caught, he threw right into the gullet of, I don't remember who it was, but it went right into his dick and it bounced off.
It did. Thank you. Hopefully he had a big old fluffy bush, because that's what helped bounce it off. Viking Jerome is in the house. Lupagus, I know your love for him, so I want to point that out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so the Vikings finished 7-9. We'll have to figure out exactly what this means, where their draft pick is, but I'm guessing it's probably around like 15.
I heard it's going to be 13 or 14.
13 or 14. So what if you're going in this game just thinking, hey, there's nothing you can get out of this win, there's no point in them winning, blah, blah, blah. There's a little bit something out of this. Younger guys, I mean, especially for like Justin Jefferson, the fact that how hard he was out there just whooping some ass. Love seeing that. I mean, I'd much rather see this and we get a mildly pointless win, but at least the guys you want to see were out there playing their ass off. Even Kirk Cousins, when they weren't getting those scores, he was not happy on the sidelines, which I love to see.
Oh, the Vikings wanted to win this game. You could tell they kept the starters in the whole time, and they had to, because the Lions did the same thing. You got to give the Lions credit. They came ready to play too. They also tried to win this game. At least the offenses did. You can't say much about the defenses, but the Lions played hard, and you know they were clearly embarrassed by what happened against the Bucs a week ago. So they came out ready to play, and they almost got one from the Vikings. But you end a 3-game losing streak. You do end the season with a win. 7-9 looks a lot better on paper than 6-10 does, even though it's a 1-win difference. At least you don't have the double-digit loss looking at you in the face. So again, a few breaks go the other way in some games this season. The Vikings could have easily flipped the script around, been 9-7, maybe better, but they did get some breaks in this one. Maybe we should talk about that next.
Yeah, they got some breaks. Usually things that you would see go against the Vikings. I don't know what was going on. Somebody needed the Vikings to win this game, and they did, because let's start with the roughing the passer. I can't remember which Lion that was. It was a
Tracy Walker, safety on a blitz.
That was one of the worst calls I've damn near ever seen, especially when it comes to roughing the passer. I don't know what happened there. It ended up with the Vikings getting a score. Kirk Cousins, I believe, rushed one in there. That was bad. That was a horrible call.
I was trying to see what it was. Listen to the explanation. I mean, there was no clear. He didn't slam him down. He didn't jump on his head. I thought maybe it was helmet to helmet. It was not helmet to helmet. It was just a bad call by the refs. Maybe he thought he saw something that didn't really happen, but that was a complete head scratcher. Other one was the Marvin Jones touchdown, which I know it didn't really matter because the Lions did end up scoring, just end up taking more time off the clock when they finally did. But I don't know what the ruling was on that one either. To me, it looked like, it did move a little bit, but he never really lost possession, especially the way they've altered the catch rule this year. To me, that they overturned that was pretty damn surprising.
Yeah, it was actually I'm almost felt bad for the Lions fans watching that, but hey, we'll take what we can get. SSM Creations wants to know when we're going to do the gritty. I'll do the gritty when the Vikings win the Super Bowl after I shotgun that beautiful.
I'll do the gritty when we get 3,000 subscribers.
Wow. 3. All right. That's fair. 3,000
Topless.
A topless gritty. See those milkers just bouncing around,
flopping around.
Eric James, what's it going to take for the mainstream media to call out Zimmer and for him to get fired? You know, I'll let you take this one.
Well, I just don't think you can't use this season as a cause to fire somebody unless you're losing the team, not giving any effort, not showing up. What Mike Zimmer's had to deal with, especially in his linebacker core, you're down to one starter and then backups of backups in there. These guys should not be seeing the field. You got Harrison Handelter today, who I wasn't super impressed with. No, you lost your best pass rusher. You lost your run stuffer. You're playing with guys who really shouldn't be starters. And I think, yeah, every team's had their problems with COVID, but I think the Vikings defense was hit especially hard, probably one of the worst in the entire NFL. So you cannot use this season as a litmus test in keeping or firing Mike Zimmer. So he's got to get one more year just because of the situation that he was in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the season was jacked up from the start. That said, we are going to see a bunch of coaches fired tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. You can say that we give them a pass because of the season, but you can also say, why the hell on draft day do we continue to trade out of 3rd and 4th rounds to get 15 7th rounders? They could have better depth. I do put that on the coach and front office. So I don't give them a full on pass because they should have been more prepared, knowing just the lack of depth for the Vikings, and they didn't care. I mean, look at safety. It's almost like it was damn near arrogant. Look at the defensive line. They didn't even try to add pieces. If Pierce would have been there, if Hunter would have been there, they still wouldn't have had any depth. Their defensive line was dog shit.
They did trade for Yannick Ngakoue. You can't say they didn't.
And then they traded him away in 3 weeks.
Well, they realized it wasn't working, and they realized they were 1-5. They were trying to get something back. They knew they weren't going to be able to re-sign him. So don't say they didn't try to upgrade the D line. But to me, I don't think Shamar Stephen would have made the team had Michael Pierce not opted out. I think he would have been cut. And it shows. He's a freaking turd. He sucks. Another bad game today. Actually, I got to be honest. They did give up 100 yards on the ground to the Lions, over 100 yards. But I actually thought the run defense was a little better, which is sad when that's a good run defensive performance. The thing that I think you can knock Zimmer on fairly is just not making these changes. You see these players struggling. Drew Samia, Pat Elflein aren't getting it done. You wait forever to finally make a change, and you do. And the same thing can be said like on defense with, the Shamar Stephen and Jaleel Johnson. They're not getting their job done. Why do they keep sending them back out there? Dan Bailey, why does he keep coming back out?
We'll talk about Dan Bailey. You don't worry about that.
Well, I mean, nothing's going to get different. Don't expect different results if you keep putting the same guys out there. And that, to me, goes on to Mike Zimmer, and that's what you can really fault him for this year. And then of all the seasons where you're not going to make a change, this is one where you have every reason to and just try something different.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they traded Ngakoue after they were 1-5. Figured it was kind of a lost season, but they didn't make any other changes like in-house. That's great. They traded him away, but what's the point if you're not going to mix everything else up? And they didn't. So very confusing. Do I think Zimmer's going to get fired? No. Do I? If he did get fired, would I question it? Probably not. I mean, they're old school between him and Kubiak. Christ, they're bringing in what's his nuts from the Packers last year to be a defensive Dom Capers. So this is an old school team, and we're going to have to deal with it while they're here. I mean, I totally expect some changes this offseason. I expect a new special teams coach. I expect Rick Dennison, who I believe is the offensive line coach. I would be very surprised if he's back. I do expect some changes both on the coaching and the players, but Mike Zimmer, I think they're going to ride it out with him and Kirk Cousins. They're kind of a package deal, and same with Spielman.
Yeah, and Spielman's had a look at what his draft class did. Yeah, you can fault him for trading down and maybe not getting a little more offensive line help, but I mean, he's had top of my head, 7 players contribute, 8 maybe. I mean, and contribute pretty big time. So hell of a job by him again. So yeah, we're missing some pieces here and there. Not great depth from top to bottom, but it's you're hard pressed to find a better draft class than the Minnesota Vikings 2020 class this year.
Yeah.
And we can get more into that in a later video, which we probably will. But let's get back to this game because I feel like we're getting off topic. We're getting a little bit carried away here. Let's talk more on the offense.
Carry on my wayward son.
Thank you for that. Alexander Madison, what do you think of him today?
Alexander Madison, we talked in the pregame, hopefully he comes out, runs tough, gave him the ball. He had 21 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. And hot damn, a couple of those plays, it looked like he was on Madden hitting the jute button because especially that touchdown. That was beautiful.
We had the receiving touchdown too. So he had 2 touchdowns on the day. Yeah, like you said, he stopped and went whoop and completely made the Lions defender miss. I thought he ran hard, he really needed a good game. kind of what we talked about in the pregame, a little bit of a weird season for him, down season for him, not really getting the opportunities we thought he was going to. So for him to come out, run for nearly 100 yards, I don't know how many, what do you have for receiving? He must have been over
50, 3 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, so a great dual threat performance from Alexander Madison. He kept Mike Boone on the sideline, which I thought Boone might have had a bigger impact, but he ended the day with 5 for 29. I think Amir Abdullah had 3 catches for 7 yards and a touchdown. So the Vikings running backs all getting involved today. And CJ Ham, 2 catches, 44 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get myself excited about this win. I'm glad we did win. I'm glad it ended on a good note. But to beat such a bad team by 2 points and still allow them to score 35 points just shows how far the Vikings did fall this year and how much they have to do in the offseason. I'm glad Madison came out. I'm glad he had a good game. I'm glad Jefferson got the record. Defensively, it was just a complete mess, which we would expect with the guys that are out. But when you got guys like Mabin out there, you got guys like Troy Dye, Harrison Ham that just have no experience. I guess you just got to kind of expect it.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to go back to the O-line here and talk a little bit about
Gross.
a guy one guy we got to point out, I don't think he's took nearly enough heat this year, is Brian O'Neill. You want to talk about a turd today. Early in the game, just getting blown by, I can't remember if it was Romeo Aquara or who it was. He just ran around him, and then he gets a holding call. It's kind of been the same story with O'Neill this whole season. I mean, this guy usually does not give up a sack all year long. I don't know. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I gotta say it's got to be close to at least half a dozen sacks he's allowed this year. He's taken he has had a rough season this year, and he's got to start taking some heat for it because his play has regressed a little bit.
Yeah, I think he gave up 4 sacks this year, but he was giving up a lot of pressure. Maybe it's because we're so used to the very, 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 very solid Brian O'Neill, and this year we only got the solid O'Neill. I mean, he's still a good right tackle. I would have expected him to get better, not worse this year. But he did. He did not have a great year. I don't know what to put that on, really. I mean, there's no explanation.
Well, I mean, only thing you can say is if he's trying to overcompensate, not having much help on the right guard spot, but he didn't have much help last year either, so I don't know really what it is. It's just the whole line has been brutal.
Yeah, I mean, and on O'Neill quick is just, I mean, he's a very, very, very good run blocker. I mean, that's his bread and butter. He's a good pass blocker, but his run blocking, Dalvin Cook's numbers have a lot to do with Brian O'Neill as well. We just put it on O'Neill when he gives up a sack. Well,
and surprising, the Vikings offense has been able to put up the points they have with the shitty O-line play they've been dealt with all season long. And we saw it in this game. The Lions must have had what do they have for sacks?
Well,
I'm going to pull it up right now. But, I mean, there was not only were there sacks, but the pressures, too, was just crazy. That ad took up the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much the norm week in and week out this year as far as pressure. Somebody brought up in the comments
3 sacks.
3 sacks?
Felt like more.
Well, the
Tracy Walker one didn't count.
Somebody in the comments brought up their when they got down to the 1 yard line over their play calling. That was pretty brutal. Brutal.
I think was it 4 to 5 times they ran it up the gut. Try something different, and they finally did.
They just let Kirk Cousins and his big old dad ass take it in, which they should have done from the start.
Well,
but that was tough to watch. And then on 4th and 1, thankfully we get the gift of a horse shit penalty. They do a play action, and he gets fucking sacked for the loss of 10 yards.
Yeah, I mean, roll out, do something. Use Irv Smith, use Tyler Conklin. They just kept pounding up the middle every single time. These kind of slow, delayed handoffs. Didn't work. There's no creativity. We've seen it many, 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 many times this season. Think of something new. Got a jet sweep. Anything different. I was just praying that it would not be Madison up the middle again, and it was. And, of course, he was getting stuff. So it's kind of been Kubiak's. As good as this offense been, 4th and short, goal line situations, the play calling has not been great.
All right, you talk about, like, your favorite color or something for a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, one thing I think we need to talk about, and maybe I should wait for one bar to come back, is Dan Bailey. Oh, Dan Bailey. Dan. I'm going to wait for him to come back. I didn't look at some questions here. What we got? Yeah, the interior gets blown up every time. Kirk can never step up in the pocket. That is definitely true. Garrett Bradbury getting pushed back. Dakota Dozier. I mean, my God. Every game it's the same story with that guy getting pushed back. Thankfully this time he didn't tackle his own man. He seems to really, really enjoy doing that. Again, I just think it is so maybe we don't talk about enough that this Vikings offense has played so well in spite of this O-line being so bad. I expect to see, I think Cleveland's going to be your left tackle next year. I think you're going to have 2 new guards. And then hopefully O'Neal can look like the O'Neal of last year. And Garrett Bradbury, he looked like he was making the next steps 3 quarters of the season, kind of stepped back a little bit. So hopefully he makes that third-year progress and kind of just shows us why he was that first-round pick. All right, SSM Creation says, what do you want with our first pick, Lupagas? Well, I'll tell you. And I don't know if it's going to happen. No, if we're 13-14, I would have loved to get one of those DNs, Greg Russo or Quiddy Pay. I don't know if that's going to happen right now. It's early to say. So if we can't, I just say you play it safe and you grab Wyatt Davis there. You got a plug-and-play starter, probably a 10-year solution at guard. So that's what I would do at this point. One bar before you left to go take that emergency shit. I wanted to talk about Dan Bailey. I don't think we've touched on him yet, and it's something we definitely have to talk about.
Was not an emergency shit, but I almost did piss my pants. I will tell you that.
Wow.
Yeah, Dan Bailey. Good God. At this point, I'm going to be very clear. I do have a conscience. I feel very bad for Dan Bailey at this point.
I don't.
It's very sad to see him over there with no facial expression, with this creepy-ass mustache, and just standing there and nobody's by him. Not even the long snapper. It's not like the long snapper is anybody to hang out with over there. It's not like Colquitt has a ton of people to hang out with over there. Dan Bailey is hanging out with the net, and he's over there practicing. And I'm sorry, there's no way they're going to bring him back. I wish he would have went out on just a good note where he just had a good game. Not only, the missed kicks are one thing. They're not even close. That one damn near went sideways.
I don't know how he did that. What he did, how he made that ball come off his foot and go directly 9 degrees to the left is got to be 10 times harder than kicking that thing straight through the uprights. Maybe he should have shaved his mustache. His kicking almost started when he got that extra weight on his face. It's throwing him off. I do not expect him back in purple. There's a bunch of guys we can list that I do not think will be back. Anthony Harris, though, we were pretty rough on him this week. I thought he wasn't slacking ass today. He seemed to be playing hard today, so I got to give him credit for that.
I'll throw Anthony Harris a bone. I thought the first at the beginning of the game he was not overly great, but yeah, Anthony Harris, I think everybody would agree here that he's not going to be back next year. Again, we got some work to do at safety. Wish Anthony Harris the best, but I'm not going to miss him a ton. If he would have came out and had a huge season, it would have been much, much harder to get rid of him or watch him walk. He'll make some good money. He's still a good safety, but I look forward to seeing what we do at the safety position moving forward.
Yeah, and I don't know. Depending on what we do with cuts, restructures, I don't know how much cap space we're going to have. That safety might have to come through the draft, and that might have to be one of our third-round picks because I don't know. I don't think there's anybody there in round 1, and you just kind of wait a little bit to get your safety of the future. A couple guys I want to give a little bit of love to is Chad Beebe for one. Took a huge hit, spins weird around, play. And then all of a sudden he's just wide open in the end zone. That one Lions guy, he just kind of looked over like, what the hell? He's still standing. I think he heard the sound and just assumed he fell. Just Jefferson, too, a great job to get out of the way on that one. Easily could have kind of stood there and got blocked into him. He got out of the way. And Beebe, God, showed some toughness for a little dude.
Yeah, he was bouncing around like a pinball there. It was fantastic. The Lions were just in awe, and he just walked in. It was great. So very good game there. Looking at the Lions, Stafford had a good game. AP, got to hand it to him. Former Viking was running very tough, 7 for 63 in that touchdown. So it'll be interesting to see if Mr. Peterson is back in the league next year. I'm a little surprised we didn't see more of DeAndre Swift, and that seems to be the theme of the Lions this year, where don't give them the ball as much as they should. Because if we would have got a heavy dose of Swift, I think the score might have been a little bit different.
Yeah, and when he did get a carry, it's like when our run defense toughened up. It was kind of surprising there. Another guy I want to point out for two reasons. Troy Dye, number one, he did jump up and swat a ball late in the game, which was pretty nice seeing him do that. But why he's covering Marvin Jones down the field, I blame that on the defense.
Blame it on the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, it seems like a very odd coverage scheme. And why are you not doubling Marvin Jones? Why is he still in single coverage? And why is Troy Dye on him? And Troy Dye, do me a favor, all offseason, just work on your arms, hit the weights hard, work on your biceps, work on your tries, do whatever you can. Jerk off a lot, get that forearm going, whatever you got to do. We need some muscles in your arm. You look too damn scrawny out there. You look like a 10-year-old kid trying on his dad's sweatshirt.
You know what? I like your input there. I want to scrap everything you just said. Okay. He doesn't need to spend any time in the weight room. He needs to go to like Dick's Sporting Goods and just get some accessories, something to make him stand out where he does not look like a punter. Maybe a wristband, maybe some tape around his wrist, maybe a visor, anything. He looks like a punter.
Yeah, get a neck roll, get something. Like I said, get a muscle suit, something that makes you look a little more intimidating out there. He's got these long, lanky arms and no muscle at all on him. I don't know, tattoo? Does he need a tattoo?
Yeah, get a big old arm sleeve. Let's in the comments here. Let's hear. We're gonna be getting to our studs and turds here shortly. I want to see who you guys have as your stud of the game, turd of the game, and I gotta say, Stan Jones actually brings up a very good point. Something I've been thinking about, where he thinks he's a little bit afraid Michael Pierce might be over 400 pounds by now.
Wow. Okay.
Which might be accurate. Somebody needs to do a check on Michael Pierce to see what we got.
I think I remember hearing, didn't the Vikings send him with a nutritionist or something to make sure this wasn't going to happen? I hope he is 400 pounds. No one will be able to run us. He'll just put him down. He won't be able to move, but no one can run around him. So it'd be better if he is 400 pounds.
Oh, boy. All right. What else we got here? Conklin, I think, had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Conkedonk is, I think he heads in the next season as our clear-cut number 2. I think he's earned that. He's always been just looked at as a receiving tight end, and he's proved it. So hats off to him, especially if this is if Kyle Rudolph is, in fact, donezo as a Viking. More than confident with Irv and Conkedonk for next year.
Yeah, and Irv wasn't really used much today. He had one catch or two. Again, you're going back to the 4th and 1 on the goal line, 3rd one, whatever. Why are we not looking for Irv Smith? It worked last week. Didn't even try it this week, which was a little bit weird, a little befuddling, if you ask me. But gotta love Tyler Conklin, what he does, what he's brought to the he's kind of awoken the last 5-6 games. That's been one of the bright spots of the this dismal stretch the Vikings have been on. But yeah, I think they've shown Kyle Rudolph is expendable. Whether or not that happens remains to be seen. But one guy I do think will come back. I think Anthony Barr is going to be back. I just think the Vikings, they need him. I know he doesn't light up the stat sheet, but the little things he does is key to this defense. And without him out there, it definitely is a big reason why we are giving up, damn near 40 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, if Eric Wilson is a big old question mark heading in the offseason, he's probably going to command some pretty decent money that he has earned. I think with Mike Zimmer, as long as he's here, I think Anthony Barr will be here. They love each other, and that's fantastic. SSM Creations has brought up a few points I need to mention because we're on the same page here. Because right off the bat, when our long snapper, Andrew Diopola, when he got that fumble recovery, he was in the running for start of the game right off the bat. And then he also said Dozier might have beaten Yannick's sack record. So we might have to think about that. We keep saying nobody has more sacks than Yannick this year for the Vikings. He might be right. Dozier might have more sacks than that.
We'll have to look into that. How someone else, Steve Warren, asks how soon before Maloof is fired. I'm going to say tomorrow before lunchtime.
I'm going to say probably about 10 minutes ago. I've been on Twitter in the last half an hour. I'm going to say he's probably already gone.
And the Vikings, they get one big return today to Agnew. Dan Chacina every time seems like he overruns the guy by 10 yards.
He had 2 tackles today, I think.
Well, no, and he chased down Agnew. I mean, he came out of nowhere. He pulled a Metcalf and chased him down, so that was cool. But I actually think we had our longest punt return of the year. It was like 7 yards, which is very impressive. Abdullah, for a second, I thought my bold prediction was going to come true. I thought he was going to break it, but he didn't. So I can't remember a year where the Vikings special teams was as bad as it's been this year.
Yeah, last year when Bailey actually came, he looked like the old Dan Bailey. Colquitt had a fantastic year. Special teams seemed to be like something we're not going to have to worry about. And this year, our dreams were completely shattered. Looking at this roster, what we have now, when you're picking up guys like Hardy Nickerson and throwing them in the lineup, just random guys, I do think this team is going to look very, 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 very different next year. You got to go. Where are you going?
Okay, I'm out of here.
All right. Lupagus is throwing in his chips on this season. He is done with it. I am not, because we still got plenty to talk about. And I know he's coming back because we're talking studs and turds. So, like I said, I sound like a broken record, but I'm glad we got the win. I wish it would have been by about double digits at least. I hate the fact that we barely beat the Lions. The shitty Lions.
From the refs.
Yeah, we needed help from the refs. We still barely beat the Lions, but it does sum up a season. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the Vikings, I think that they got robbed and there's a chance they could be 10-6 at this point. There's not. There's more of a chance they should have been 3-13 than the other way around.
There's some truth to that, but they were kind of just an 8-8 team, so you felt it was going to be 7-9, 9-7, could go either way, and that's kind of what happened. No one expected defense to be as bad as it got, as bad as it is right now. It was clear to see in this game that the Vikings defense is complete shit. I think it all comes from the lack of pressure up front. We should maybe talk about that a little bit more, just with DJ Wanham, Eddie Yarbrough not getting really a sniff.
Yarbrough.
There was a couple times they were close, but then Stafford would just step up in the pocket. I think Maloof got home once with 1 sack, but that was about it. Not a ton of pressure. There was times where Matt Stafford had an embarrassingly long amount of time to scan the field and find Marvin Jones.
Well, it's kind of like every game. Matt Stafford was running around and he has like one functioning body part right now. And he was still running around. No problem. It was disgusting. Even when Hercules got his sack, he was just kind of spying on him, just hanging out there. And all of a sudden Stafford just ran towards him. He's like, all right, I'll sack you.
Yes.
So it wasn't even like this fantastic sack. It was just a gimme sack. It was brutal. Defensive line. Yes. Daniil Hunter. Yes. Michael Pierce will make a huge difference. Yes. DJ Wanham will be better next year. And I fully expect the Vikings to go with some sort of rusher in the early rounds this coming draft. So I feel that will be better. But damn, it was embarrassing. I hate the fact that the season's over. I hate the fact that we're not going to see any more Vikings this year. But at the same time, I'm not that upset because it was starting to get pretty damn gross.
Yeah, we didn't see much of your boy Blake Lynch today.
We didn't see Blake Lynch. We didn't see James Lynch. We didn't see any of the guys I wanted to see. And I'm still upset that Kyle Hinton was inactive.
He went to play anyway. His coaching staff went to put him out there. He would have gone with Dakota Dozier. It's ride or die with Dozier. He's got a tattooed on his butt cheeks.
Yeah, well, if it's April 14th and we re-signed Dakota Dozier to a 1-year deal, I'm going to come on here buck-ass naked and just do a hula hoop for 10 minutes straight.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to be so upset. So upset. And Stan Jones brings up a point that we did not bring up. Tankersley.
No.
Our boy Tankersley, who, I'm still hoping he comes back next year, at least in preseason training camp to push for a spot. But yeah, that was disgusting. He had some issues there. It was bad news.
Yeah, that was brutal. There was no safety help over the top, and he was laying on the turf. Not
took a nap. He got tired. Harrison
Hand, he's always there. I think I said this in the pregame, but he's not really breaking up any passes. So Anthony Harris got excited a couple times when he really had nothing to do with the guy dropping the ball. And Gladney, I thought Gladney's tackling was a lot better today. So he kind of did. He took AP down once, I think, on his own, or came in and hit him hard. So Coverage was hit or miss, but I thought as a whole, the corners tackled much better today.
Yeah, Gladney was out there. He plays angry. I love that about Gladney. Love it. Warren, who was asking about number 3?
It was Mabin, SSM.
Yeah, Mabin. Dylan Mabin used to be I think he even started for the Raiders for a couple of games, but he was our guy today.
Jesus,
didn't look great.
He was something. He was out there. He was trying. So, yeah, I think we should just probably wrap this thing up. We've been talking it pretty at length. Vikings do win. Was it 37-35? Squeaked one out against the Detroit Lions. So now we're picking
squeaky.
13 or 14th, and we will delve into that many, many times from now until draft day.
Yeah, we're gonna be back yet today still talking about well, you just check back. And obviously remember to subscribe. We're here every damn day. This offseason is gonna be fun. We're gonna be talking a lot of draft, a lot of free agency. I can't wait. I can't wait for the offseason. This is gonna be our moment.
Well, I mean, it's always fun. I don't know, again, depending on how much room we can create, how active the team will be in free agency. But even last year, they did go out and sign Michael Pierce, which is more than many expected. So I'm sure there'll be at least one big move. Hopefully it's on the O-line. But again, let's stick to this game. I think it's time. Let's talk. Let's start with the turd of the game.
Final turd of the game. Turd of the player. Yeah, turd of the game.
Who is it?
You go first. I'm giving you the honors.
I think it's because you don't know who yours is yet.
No, I know exactly who mine is. I'll go first. My turd of the game. I'm sorry. I'd love to say Dan Bailey. It's too damn easy. We picked on him too much. He's not turd of the game. He's turd of forever. He's always a turd, especially with that mustache. I'm going Brian O'Neill. Brian O'Neill had a very tough game. I hate seeing it. I love Brian O'Neill, but he's my turd. I hate ending on this one. I wish I could have been somebody that I just don't like it. I love Brian O'Neill. Turd.
Yeah, he was my turd too, Brian O'Neill.
Damn it. Lame.
He was. Just the penalty, the bad sack. He's supposed to be the stud of this O-line, and I really think he's struggled in recent weeks. And we're going to call him on it. We're not going to pretend that I love him too, but you play like shit, you smell like shit, you look like shit, you're going to be turd of the game.
Well, and we got to look at the turd of the game too, because there's a lot of players that did not play well, but can you really hand out a turd of the game to like a Tankersley? I mean, we got to put it on expectations as well.
He's still dry humping the turf at Ford Field right now. Actually, I think he finished. He's not.
Somebody asked if Dan Bailey, do you think he was allowed to go home with them? You know what? I can't say yes. I can't confidently say yes.
No, they gave him a ticket on a Greyhound.
He's gonna be sitting on the plane next to that big net.
He'll have to go sit up by the pilot in the cockpit.
All right, who's your stud of the game? Final stud of the game for 2020. Who is it?
Oh man, a couple ways you could go here, but I'm gonna go with Kirk Cousins. He finished with 400 yards passing. I know there was a couple plays there that were very scary. Started off slow, but 405 yards, 28 for 40, 3 touchdowns, and 1 rushing yard and 1 rushing touchdown. 4 total touchdowns on the day for Kirk. Without him slinging the ball, the Vikings do not win this game. Yes, there was a couple tender penalties that went in the Vikings' favor, but Kirk Cousins and his big old ass is my stud of the game.
That ass. Corey Moulton saying, smash that like button. Corey Moulton, we love you. We love you.
Hell yeah.
Love him.
Guy.
I've been wavering on who's my stud of the game is going to be. Kirk Cousins absolutely deserves it. Whether you like it or not, put the record aside. This is one of Kirk Cousins' best years he's had as a pro. And he was on some pretty damn shitty teams in Washington, and this was not a fantastic team either. But hats off to Kirk Cousins. I mean, with this offensive line in front of him, that's a pretty big deal what he did. So Kirk Cousins, I mean, just think if he had a good offensive line in front of him. I don't think 40 touchdowns is crazy talk. So I'm gonna go in a different direction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was it Kirk? Who are you picking here?
I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent here. Kirk Cousins does not get the love he deserves. It pisses me off. People put it on Kirk Cousins. It's not his problem. My side of the game is Justin Jefferson. Not only did he put up the numbers, But what I loved about him in a game that did not matter, yes, he absolutely wanted some records. He wanted to get those. But the fact that he was out there, busting his ass in a game that did not matter, A+, well done. Love to see it. I love the passion in this guy. I hope it continues. I hope it gets bigger. I hope he gets cockier. I love it.
Yeah, you hope he doesn't develop into a diva. They always is kind of this fun-loving guy out there who clearly loves playing the game of football, loves his teammates, and I actually think he has a nice respect for the history. I mean, he had Randy Moss on his shoes today. He knew he was playing for, and I think he's actually given respect to Randy Moss by doing that. Oh, yeah. And he's even been in contact with Stephon Diggs, kind of scratching each other's backs, giving each other some love. So, yeah, I mean, he's a mature kid for his age, and you gotta love what he did for the Vikings this year, and very, very excited about his future. Another guy who was in the running for me for stud of the game was Alexander Madison. Ran hard a couple times. You almost think it's Delvin Cook back there. The way they kind of look, similar running style, similar build, similar hair. So just dual threat guy, catching the ball, running hard. Some amazing moves by Madison. I was very impressed with him finishing the way he did on what was not a very exciting season for him in year 2.
Well said. Well said. I could not have said it better. So that is our final post-game wrap. But don't worry, we're going to be here all damn offseason, more than you want to see us. Ugh. So remember to subscribe, like the videos. We're going to be back here actually pretty damn quick.
Yeah, I think we are. And until then, guys, know this. The world now has more people dying of obesity than malnutrition.